Trump tariffs. The power play. Everyone's missing. The headlines are on fire. Trump announces a new wave of tariffs and the world loses its mind. Pundits are panicking. Foreign leaders are warning of catastrophe. The internet's drowning in economic doomsday takes. But what if I told you? This panic is missing the bigger picture. Because when it comes to global trade, the United States isn't the vulnerable one. We're the buyer. We are the market. And in the world of economics, that means we hold a lot more cards than anyone wants to admit. Let's start with some numbers. The United States has a GDP of around $28 trillion. That's more than the entire EU combined. More than China and Japan combined. And out of that 28 trillion, nearly 70% is just one thing: consumption. That's people buying stuff: homes, cars, food, clothes, gadgets. And where do we get a lot of that stuff? From abroad. We are the world's biggest importer. Over $3 trillion a year in goods come into this country. We buy way more than we sell, and that's usually seen as a weakness. But what if it's a strength? So let's break this down. Tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods. The seller pays to get their goods into your market, which can lead to price hikes. So when Trump slaps tariffs on Chinese steel, or European cars, or Mexican produce, it sends shockwaves through markets. Economists warn of inflation. Corporations brace for impact. The fear is costs go up, supply chains break down, and the world tumbles into recession. But here's what no one talks about. Tariffs aren't always about punishment. Sometimes they're about leverage. Ask yourself this: who has more to lose in a trade standoff? The country that sells things or the country that buys them? The US is the customer. China, Mexico, Germany, Japan, they're the vendors. And we're not just any customer. We're their best customer. China exports over $500 billion worth of goods to the US every year. That's over 15% of their total exports. Mexico? Nearly 80% of their exports go straight to America. Germany sends more cars to the US than almost any other market. If we buy less, they sell less. That's real pressure. Remember 2018? Trump imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions in Chinese goods. China retaliated. Global markets wobbled. People freaked. But you know what happened next? China came to the table. They agreed to buy more US agricultural products. They offered concessions on intellectual property and tech transfer. It wasn't perfect, but they blinked. And during that same period, US companies started diversifying their supply chains, moving production to Vietnam, India, even back home. This is what a lot of analysts miss. The US economy isn't built like most others. We don't rely on exports. Our economy is driven by us. When we slap a tariff on something, yeah, prices might rise, but we absorb it. We adapt. Meanwhile, countries that depend on selling to us, they panic. This gives the US an incredible amount of leverage that no one wants to admit we have. Let's talk about the global reaction. European auto manufacturers lobbied hard to get exempted from US tariffs. Asian electronics firms began building plants in the US just to stay in the game. Mexico scrambled to renegotiate NAFTA into the USMCA to avoid worse outcomes. When the US gets aggressive on trade, the world doesn't retaliate. It repositions. This isn't just about power. It's about future-proofing. Tariffs can, if used strategically, bring manufacturing home or closer to home. Think Mexico, Canada, even US heartland. Reshoring and friendshoring became buzzwords post-2020. Now they're reality. And tariffs were a big part of the push. So yes, tariffs aren't pain-free. They can raise prices. They can spark short-term friction. But they're not the end of the world. They're a negotiating tactic, a pressure point. And when you're the world's biggest market, you can afford to press a little. So next time you hear someone panicking about tariffs, remember this: the customer is always right. And in global trade, the United States is still the customer everyone wants to please.